Morning guys, so welcome back to the channel. So moving on from the last time that we were in here, I've now fitted the rear indicators, the mudguard, the seat is on. I've also fitted the new LED front indicators. Okay guys, so here's a little trick for you. If you're trying to remove the outer sleeving, obviously you don't want to pull it too hard against here. So what you need to do is just get a little bit of WD-40, squirt it down inside the cabling there. It's a little bit messy, but that's fine. Give it a minute or so to let it work its way down, and then you'll be able to pull the outer sleeving back. But you don't want to put too much pressure on this wire here, so making sure it's all straight before you do this. And once it starts to move, you can grab the wires, apply a bit more force then, and again, if it's not working, just add a little bit more WD-40. It saves cutting the outer insulation, the outer cable. Then after a little while, look, as you can see, there's the outer sheathing out, not cut, so you can reuse that for something else. Just give the wires a little wipe down then, like so. And there we have it. So I'm going to get some heat shrink tubing, slide it right up into the hole here, heat shrink it down, and then take the tubing back through the length of the cables. So my black heat shrink tubing that I've used to come down this far is 3mm tubing. Okay, so where they've terminated the purple and the black wire out of the indicator, it won't push down over the two joints there. So what I've had to use, I'm going to have to use red. That's the only one I've got. This is I think 4mm, so that'll slide down over the top. It will still go into the connector itself, and I'll just apply a little bit of heat and work it into there, and then shrink it back. If you haven't got one of these, a lighter. So as you can see, hopefully from there, the red heat shrink tubing is now gone down inside of the unit. So I'm going to apply a bit more heat now, shrink that down. Right, let me bring you a little bit closer so you can see. Hopefully there, so that's nice and snug in there now. It's not going to go anywhere, and you can ease it down if you need to, but that's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to carry on shrinking this down now, and I'll shrink the rest of the cable down as well. And again, just take your time, make a neat job of it. And if you haven't got one of these, then you can use a lighter. Yeah, so that's done that now, so I'm going to carry on working it my way back. And there you have it guys, that's the first one. Now what I found handy is to have a torch just laid down, so that you can go past the cable, run the cable past it, and then that will allow you to see if you've missed any bits of the heat shrink there. So that's the first one done. I've missed a bit there, so I'll go over that again. It's just making sure I'm doing a good job. So that one's done now, so I'm going to get on and do the other side. I'm not going to film that because it's just a repeat of this side. So like I say, there's the first one wired up. All I've got to do is put the connectors on, run my outer sleeving on first, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I'm starting off the second side now. making sure that that's pulled up as close as I can to it. And I'm going to lay that flat and just work my way down, working my way around the cable, not leaving the heat source in one place for too long, because that will actually burn it then, which is what you don't want. So a section at a time, take your time. For this one I actually put the red piece of heat shrink on first, so there's a slight gap between the red and the black heat shrink tubing. I'm going to put another piece over the top of that when I've shrunk all of this down. Doesn't necessarily need it, but I'm just going to make it a neat install. After all, it's your pride and joy, so do it properly, do it neatly, make a good job of it. So I've just fitted my outer sleeve into it. It's like a neoprene sleeving. It's quite flexible. I'll leave links in the video description below where I get all of my heat shrink tubing in that from, either off of eBay, or there's another company I use called Vehicle Wiring Products, who are very, very good. And what I like to do afterwards is just to check that the indicator is still working. So literally put it up to a power supply, battery source. Negative is black, purple is positive, so there we can see the indicator is working, so that's fine. Nothing worse than doing all of this, fitting it to your bike and find out it doesn't work. So I'll do the other one as well. So I'll put that one up there. So again, purple to positive, black to negative, and we have it working there. Lovely. Right, let's move on to the next stage. So finally got everything ready now, so I'm just going to now solder the cables together. I've run the cables through the loom, through the clips, so I'm just going to solder these cables one by one, do all the heat shrink tubing, and then do a test. So I'm doing the right side first, followed by the left. Just applying a bit of solder to the iron first. It's very difficult trying to get everything lined up so that you guys can actually see it. Okay, so they're both done. That's good. Just going to do a test. Yeah, and that is the right hand indicator working. So I'm going to pop down the heat shrink tubing there over both of those. Shrink that down. Move on to the other side. Again, move the gun around so it doesn't burn the material or the wires. Just take your time. And so if you haven't got one of these, then a good old-fashioned lighter will work. Right, so I've got another piece of heat shrink that I'm going to pull up over there in a minute. That I've also taken the outer cabling off and put some more heat shrink on there. So again, I'm going to use this one to heat shrink that down. Just making a neat job of it. That's one side, so I'm going to turn it around now. A bit fiddly. Doesn't take much. And I'm going to do this other one here while I'm on the left hand side while I've got this. That's both of those done now. Now I'm going to slide this other piece of heat shrink on just over there. just to give it a bit of added support. That's one side done. And we'll move on to the left hand side. So exactly the same again, just repeating the procedure. So just popping on the heat shrink tubing first. Just use what you've got, doesn't really matter on the colour, as long as it's the correct size, and it will bring you down a bit so you can actually see it. Hopefully this time. Yeah, that's taken all round. Now we'll do the black. Quick inspect of that. No, not happy with that one. Hasn't. Looks like it hasn't taken on the underside. So take it apart. Do it again. That's better. Soda's flowed all the way around. So same as before. Apply the heat gun on here. And turn them around a bit so you can see, hopefully. So that's that one. I'm going to slide, let that cool down a little bit. Slide this a little bit over the top. To give them a bit of added support. Like I say, not really needed, but I'm going to do it anyway. That should all be done now, and then finally the last piece to go right over everything to support it. Like so. I'm just working my way around again, bit by bit, section by section. Again, I can feel it. It's still loose in areas, so just working my way around there, slowly taking my time. Right, let's take you off there. Let's pop around the front, put the indicators on, and see the result. So as you can see, that's the left hand indicator. And the right hand indicator. Okay guys, so I've had to do a bit of an update. I installed the front LED indicators there, up under here, as you can see. And they started off blinking slowly, and then they went too fast. So I've had to install, or I'm installing now, a load resistor for each side. So I'm not actually going to film it, but I'm just installing it. So you've got the resistor, you've got two, these are from Alchemy, you've got two black wires and two yellow wires. So one of the black wires goes to the black of your indicator, and then the yellow wire goes to the purple, and then you put those in between the new indicator wiring and your pre-existing loom, and then that fools the ECU and the computer into thinking that your bulbs are working normally. So I'm going to get on and do this, and I'll show you all when it's finished. Hopefully you can see this. I've drilled and tapped the frame here, and the resistors sit up here out of the way because they need a good earth to bolt to. But those are fitted there, and then I've cleaned up all the lower end here. Hopefully you can see. So I'm going to clean that up a bit more, respray the panel, and then fit that on, and then move on to the front end. So first of all, let's the indicators working. So they're working as they should now, which is great.